They're not going to tighten it down the tourniquet to where it cuts off the circulation. They're going to tighten it down just enough to where if you stand up, it doesn't fall down to your leg. That way you don't feel it.
On behalf of Sheriff Henderson and myself and what we've been doing here, and what you're going to see is some very exciting things today that were born out of activities that took place back in 2018 with Representative Toth, who immediately initiated this active shooter type training in conjunction with the sheriff. And they started a process that during COVID kind of backed up. So right after the most recent shooting, as you know, Uvalde, we jumped back on it. And what you're seeing here today and the activity that's going on here, of which we've already had 350 to 400 individuals already through here, some from other states, for the training, train the trainer, a number of different things. But I want to thank you all for being here. I'd like to recognize some of you who are here. We've got Senator Cornyn's office over here, Jay. Thank you, man. I appreciate you all being here. And then we've got Crenshaw's office here with Karin, and then Holly with Morgan Luttrell's office, who is here. Then we got Josh Reno, and we got Brent Dupree with General Paxton's office. Nelda is here with her husband David, but Maris is here on behalf of Nelda Blair, who's on the board for DPS. And of course, Representative Ernest Bales has joined us as well, and are all very supportive of what we're doing here. We have Constable Rowdy Hayden, who has joined us here today, and of course, you know, the sheriff and Representative Toth. And in just a few moments, they're going to come up here, each one of them, and then we'll kind of give you a shakedown on what's going to take place. But I have to tell you that this has born out of a lot of effort and hard work. Many of you in here have been working on this on behalf of the county. I can't tell you how thankful we are and how proud we are that we're able to do this. We've had people come from all over the state. We've had individuals come and train here from other states. We even had a group come from Germany that came through here and we're getting training. So we're really on to something here. It's very exciting. I also want to acknowledge Jason Millsaps, our Director of Homeland Security and Emergency Management, who has really worked with the sheriff and to put this deal together. So at this time, I'm going to ask Sheriff Henderson to come up and share with us a few things, and then we'll turn it over to Representative Toth.
You bet. Thanks, Judge. Well, thank you all for being here. This is kind of a dream come true for all of us, to be able to all get in the same room together, all public safety disciplines, working hand in glove to ensure the safety of the public and especially the safety of our children. And the judge spoke about how this got started, and I really have to give all the credit to Steve Toth. He didn't come to us with a plan, but he came to us with a vision. And he said, look, y'all are the subject matter experts. It was really me and Ligon, so we can't forget Ligon on this. And we all sat down together along with Conroe ISD, because the school shooting had just happened, and Conroe ISD, we had their attention. So we wanted to have a conversation about what we could do next. Well, we kicked it around a little bit, and it became the Special Threat Response Plan, named that intentionally because it's bigger than school shootings. It's you know, to encompass the pavilion and any other places, large mass gathering places where there could be an active shooter incident. And so we made, through the help of emergency management, we created the first ever plan that was actually memorialized. We actually wrote it down, what we were going to do, how we were going to respond. All disciplines, public safety disciplines, were included in there. And all of the CEOs of public safety in Montgomery County are signatories. So everybody has bought in, everybody has agreed that we're going to participate in the training, we're going to exercise the plan that we've taken the time to write down. And it doesn't sound real complicated, but you know, we're the only ones to have done it. Of the 254 counties in the state of Texas, we're the only ones to have done that. So y'all that are here, I hope that's one of your bigger takeaways, just from us. I mean, they're going to put on a great dog and pony for you. But the takeaway from this side is what we would like from the state would be to try to generalize this. I think we have a good thing going in Montgomery County, and if we could take it and generalize it to the rest of the other 253 counties in the state, I think those are huge steps forward. But none of this is possible without what Rowdy and I call the force multiplier. So we work together day in and day out. I mean, rarely ever do you see one of us alone. I mean, we're always with the constables are with the sheriffs, and the sheriffs with the constable, and we all work together. EMS, we couldn't do it without you. Fire, we wouldn't do it without you. So that we bring it all together in this force multiplier approach. For those of you that may be fans of Covey, it's synergy. You know, we're stronger together. We're stronger than the sum of our parts. And that's our approach day in and day out, and that's what leads to our success. And I really appreciate everyone taking the time to be here. I know y'all all had somewhere else that you could be, but that you took the time to be here for us is huge. And I want to turn it over now to my friend Steve Toth, the visionary behind all of this that's gotten it all going. So come on up, Steve. Thank you so much.
You bet. Thanks, Sheriff.
Absolutely.
How many of you guys saw the video at Uvalde of law enforcement that had gone into the school, and they were nervously walking back and forth. They didn't want to penetrate the classroom where the shooting was taking place. They were washing their hands, not knowing really what to do. Those guys were not cowards. They didn't receive the training that they needed. There's a neuroscience that's involved in conditioning someone to going into a critical situation like that where you could lose your life. And we failed them. The state of Texas failed them by not providing this kind of training for them. And that's the purpose of this. 20 years ago, Sheriff Henderson and our judge, or back in 2018, 2019, we got pushback over putting this into place. And we heard, well, you know, we do tabletops. Tabletops doesn't get it, guys. You've got to go into a situation like this with your fellow officers and with other law enforcement entities and first responders to condition yourself to understand what it's going to take to overcome the situation. So I just want to thank our county judge and sheriff and Rowdy, you were there in the early days of this thing too. It took everybody coming together to make this happen, and so now the key thing is to find the funding so that we can sustain this, because the county can't continue to pay for this on a monthly basis. It's not sustainable for the taxpayers of Montgomery County. This is going to be something that's going to be used statewide, and the state of Texas needs to step up and make this a reality. So,
Thank you, Steve.
Judge, thank you.
Awesome, you betcha. You know, also, I want to give continued kudos to Jason Millsaps, who on every step of the way consulted with the sheriff's office, found this building, and put this deal together. It was remarkable. It was abandoned. They came across it. They worked out a deal with a private equity company, and here we are today. So it's a good job on behalf of everybody. At this time, Daniel Pena is going to come. He's going to give us a safety briefing, and then we're going to be on our way into the event. Daniel?
Hello, everybody. So the safety, the scenario, we're gonna have, every officer's been secured or been checked already. So the responding officers have been disarmed. There's no live ammo in here. They've checked each other, they've checked themselves, I've checked them, we did a self-check, buddy check, all that good stuff. Obviously fire, we know that they're not armed. Everybody else who's observing, if you are carrying a weapon, if you're a concealed carry holder, if you're law enforcement, I will ask you to secure your weapon. We do have 2 officers on site. We have Captain Hook and Lieutenant Funderburk, who are going to be the scene security. We have a lot of first responder vehicles out there, so we know that that already is an easy target. So every perimeter doors already, they're locked, so we're going to have one entry point here, and we're going to have Lieutenant Funderburk here who's going to be armed. So please feel that you're going to be secured. So only for the safety of our role players and those who are observing, I'll ask that you secure your weapon if you have one. If you're going to be observing, I will ask that you wear a reflective vest, so we'll know we have an area that's going to be secured for you guys to watch in the same direction. You will not be hit with ammunition. You will have safety glasses as well. So all the role players will wear masks, only because they're going to be in and around the area of the shooting, so they'll be wearing masks. Everybody else far enough away to where you will not be hit with any ammo or any ammunition rounds. If you've never dealt with it, it's just a soap round. It's a small projectile. It does hurt. At a distance, it won't break the skin. Up close, it will. So, but you guys are far enough away that that won't happen. Okay? So please feel safe that we've taken all safety precautions to avoid that. If there is a real-world incident that occurs, we have plenty of fire EMS on site. They've already been briefed that they will call a ceasefire, and we'll deal with any real-world injuries that we have. Okay? So feel safe about that as well. Other than that, if you do not want to be in the room, we do have a shot box that we're going to use that simulates gunshots. It's kind of loud. Once we go into the room, I'll set it off so you guys could hear it. And you guys will be far enough that it's loud, but it's not too loud, okay? If you don't want to be in the room when this is happening, there is a door. You can stand in the hallway. Once the shooting's done, you can make your way back in if you feel that you might get hurt. You shouldn't, but if you feel that you might, we do have that option. All right, we have tables blocking off the area that the role players and the responders are going to be in. Do not cross that area. I will give you guys a brief once we get in there. And other than that, that's pretty much it. Does anybody feel that unsafe and they need
to help us? Chief Hayden, I appreciate it. Other than that, let's get the
Can't
show
forget
moving.
the Tatum's here as well.
Oh yeah, we do have.
I tell you what, she did before. That's your car ball cap. Your ball cap is what has a butterfly.
Sorry if it's cold, since the fire guy is not sick.
Comment basically, seniority. Yeah, they just do
Luke, I am your father.
I'm gonna see Daniel.
Right.
Daniel, did you want to explain what we're?
For the sake of the exercise, everybody's already in position. I don't want them to run while he starts shooting, potentially hurt themselves. So they've already been placed. They're simulating. The shooter came in, he started shooting, they ran, they fell, they knocked us down. Just like it would be, we're simulating the Virginia Tech incident. Unknown casualty, known shooter in the building, they don't know where. So the scenario is going to be, he's going to be there. I have the shot box here that I'm going to sound off real quick so you guys can hear what it sounds like. That's what the responders are going to hear. For the scenario, I'm going to give a 30-second head start so they can start putting their masks on, and the role players will know we're about 30 seconds out. Once I yell, going hot, going hot, going hot, 3 times, they'll know the scenario has started. And what's going to happen is he's going to start simulating the gunshots, and it's remote controlled, no projectiles are going to be going out towards our responders. So he's going to be simulating, this is what it's going to sound like. So it's going to be their driving force to bring them to the room. So he's going to sound off 8 or 9 rounds. Once I give him the thumbs up, he's going to start shooting. What he's going to do, he's going to tuck back into the corner here. He's going to tuck back into the corner here, forcing the officers to come into the room so you guys can see them make entry. Once they've made entry and he sees a shoulder, a gun, or body, he's going to step out, get engaged, go down. Then they're going to work the room like they've been trained to do. Any questions? Any concerns? All the shooting from the first responders are going to be directed here. So nothing's going to be going towards you guys. So you guys are far enough away. If there's a ricochet of the round, that's why you're wearing safety glasses, it shouldn't hurt, okay? You'll go down, there might be 8 or 9 rounds at the absolute most, maybe 5 rounds fired by our first responders to our aggressor. Once that shooting's done, there's no more shooting in the exercise. So they're going to come in with weapons, but they're not going to engage anything. There's not a secondary threat. There's not a third threat, nothing like that. Any questions or comments? No? All right, everybody good? We're in good position? All right. Ready?
Just as a reminder, you can take pictures, but don't film this scenario because if you
we're able to take the G-stick and walk them out, walk them all out. Okay. Okay. Now, you heard everything else? Full party, we have some walking. Take those two G-sticks with the left, and the three G-sticks and the arm out.
Yeah, we need to focus on this guy. He's taking a whole thing.
Hold on, they're getting ready to take one out. So let's get him prepped and ready, because they're about to execute these people right there. All right, let's continue.
Let's make sure, knows they're working on other.
He can dip. Take the shoes out, tell him what we're on. Pick him up on our way out. They can go, and they can go. Move him here, once we're ready to move, and then we can use it. Hey, so let's prep him by the door. Let's get him ready. We'll get the chair available, we can take him to the chair. All right. Everybody out there? Get that table right there. Get that table, we're gonna put this cheese dough on that table. All right, man, we're gonna get you up. You just sit up here, okay?
Suspect down.
All right, hey, once we get her on, then we can close this room down and get out. You just scoot up. There you go. You wanna lay back down.
Do we have RTF?
We don't need to. Go for it. Answer, y'all need another guy? Nope, we're good.
You guys security?
Rescue task force 1, security. Yeah, we're ready to close down the event.
Moving.
3, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, let me know if y'all need to switch out. I got
Commander Revolve, Commander Revolve, status.
Rescue task force is extracting several other parties right now. Contact team standing on the ground with that one suspect down. Full security. Several more responses.
Alright, RTF 3 is ready to launch if you need it.
Copy.
Index! The scenario, for the sake of the exercise, RTF was really quick, but we do know that in the response, it's gonna take a while, especially after the first, call of shots fired in the school. Everybody's gonna be around, and they're gonna take time to form.
All right.
They were already formed up there for the sake of the exercise, but that's what RTF will look like. They're gonna have security with them, several law enforcement officers with fire and EMS mixed together. They're gonna come in and do what you guys just saw. And you guys saw that they used some of the equipment in the room, work smarter, not harder. Instead of carrying a bunch of people out, they put them on a rolling chair or table and rolled them out and got them out. Any questions of the scenario, the exercise?
Actually, who determines when those guys come in first? Who's in charge of this?
So initially, the contact team comes in, RTF1 will come in, and usually will become casualty collection point 1. They will become what we call the room boss when it comes to medical. So the first team in, they'll start doing the major triage of the patients. And they're the ones that are going to determine the criticalness of the patients. You know, they're going to triage them, and they'll decide who goes first. So it's going to be a medical, either MCHD or a fire personnel is going to be that person. Law enforcement is going to hold the scene, they're going to hold the room. Obviously, they had the suspect who they put down, who they have to secure, and they also had some KIAs in here. So they're not going to leave the room. They're not going to abandon it. But RTF1 and RTF2 and so forth, so on, will leave eventually once all the patients are out. But usually it's RTF1 that comes in and establishes the triage for those patients. Yes, ma'am.
Who determined what time?
They saw him, so that was their driving force. If they would have came in and they heard nothing, saw nothing, or seen nothing, then that would have been, that's when they hold, because in reality, where are they gonna go clear? There's nothing driving in the room, but we do know dispatch distances, availability of units, and then forming. That's why we have decided to really focus on building unified command.
What did you do different here than what was witnessed, say, in Uvalde or some other places?
I don't know if there's something different. The driving force was, the door was open to begin with. Here, the door was open. Over there, they thought the door was closed, and they thought they were gonna have to breach it, and they were taking around that door closed. So that was hesitant for them. They didn't have the breaching equipment to make entry, so instead of stacking on the door and trying the door and possibly taking rounds from inside, that might have been what kept them from going in. And he wasn't shooting when they came in. Unlike him, where he was shooting, they saw him, door was open, that was the driving force. Over there, it was kind of like, is it a hostage situation? There's really no driving force. It was kind of like in the middle for them. So that's the main difference on that.
And the big takeaway is there's no.
And you have made it available and accessible to anybody and everybody. It's all combination lock, so all I have to do is give you the combination, and we have restrooms that are up and running, we have porta potties, we have lights in certain rooms. Other rooms have ambient light coming in, so more than half of the school, we have light, and it's cool. So it's level 2, which focuses more on medical for the law enforcement. There's solo officer rapid deployment, where it's one officer making entry, maybe 2 officers, and they also have a low light class. There's a bunch of different classes that Alert has.
In Illinois, that we're meeting this new standard that the state of Illinois had put in place, so that, as you talked about earlier, if a shooter looks into the classroom, they can only see about 15 to 20% of the classroom. 70 to 80% of it they can't see, and the kids are behind that line. So the shooter doesn't know if anybody's even in there, so they'd have no reason to go in. We're still building schools right now in Texas that are not accommodating that consideration. It's crazy.
Some of the new schools actually have all their glass towards the atrium, so a shooter could stand in one part and just shoot around into these schools.
Very aesthetically pleasing, but not necessarily safe.
Yeah, we saw a demonstration on how easy it was to not actually take the glass out, but wasn't it a film that they could actually apply afterwards? And it would seem like something like that, if, I know Senator Cruz has a bill that would actually fund that if we could stop building schools that were not being filmed at risk.
But they can retrofit too, so
Yeah,
like
that's what we're
even if
saying.
you put
Yeah, it's a
like,
3M film you put over it, makes it semi bullet resistant.
but you can just put up a hip wall right there, the center block hip wall,
Yeah.
right there. So if he looks through the glass,
You can't see
he's
anything
limited
else.
to about 10 or 15% of the room, and that's it. That's all he can see. That's all that shooter can see. There are things that we can do right now that are relatively inexpensive to make our schools safer.
Yeah, we never say never, we never say always, because, you know, the way these, in the history, what they've done, they're like water, they follow the path of least resistance. So they're not gonna take the time to breach a door, because that takes too much time. They're looking more for the easy targets. So they'll go checking doors, if they find an open door, they'll go in. If it's locked, they're not gonna take time to breach, and most of them don't have breaching capabilities. So that's one of the things we tell them, is make sure you lock your doors. There's a certain way to lock your door, or find a way to lock your door, secure it, and then hide. And they're gonna look in, and they're gonna be like, yeah, it's not. They're looking for target rich environment. So they're not gonna take their time to breach a door and then potentially find an empty classroom. So they're gonna look for their targets of opportunity. That's why we try to teach people, get out of the hallways, get in the classroom, hide, lock the doors, out of sight, out of mind type of thing. But most of the time, they're not gonna take the time to breach the doors. And if they do, what does that allow? More time for the first responders to make the scene. And if they're taking time to breach a door, they're gonna be there 3-4 minutes, that's 3 or 4 minutes the cops could be there and hopefully neutralize that threat. So that's why they're not taking the time to do that. But we never say never, we never say always. So, and we don't know.
Just a quick thank you to Sergeant Smith, the Constable Precinct 2's office, who took the rounds today. He's actually, if you can see his left hand, he's got a couple.
On his forearm, he took some rounds.
So the sim rounds did break the skin on him, so appreciate him taking one for the team today. Yeah,
Literally.
exactly. And if you're curious to walk around the building, you're welcome to walk around the building and see other classrooms. You'll find where they've held classes, and you'll see the bulletin boards and stuff where they've taken notes on response times and things like that, because they do stage them when they're doing the training. What you saw today was just for us. But in the training scenario, they don't rush in like that, and it's all done in 30 seconds. It's all staged, just like it would be in real life, based on response time histories, and they are taught to establish command and follow that process. And so there's all kinds of notes and stuff. If you walk around, you'll see you know, whoever was the instructor taking notes when they made the entry, if we get some partnership with the state would be to turn a corridor up front that's currently, that we haven't been through, into a male and female dormitory. So officers and fire and EMS that have come from other areas of the state don't have to expend funds for hotel bills, which makes it even more cost effective for their agencies. So short of travel and to get here, they would not have to stay over, if we charge overnight, we would not charge them to be here. There's plenty of restaurants and stores and things in the area for them to shop and eat and all that stuff. We even have full-fledged cafeteria. If we need to, we can turn the cafeteria back on. But turning a couple areas into dormitories, and then we have other ideas for the building besides just the active shooter response. You know, law enforcement goes through close quarter combat training for when they arrive on scene for domestic assaults in a home, and things are very confined in a home, as you know, furniture and stuff, and it can get very chaotic for an officer to have to maneuver around all that and defend himself should they be attacked by the aggressor. So they have scenarios they can run here. There's an entire training lab. Cost for us right now, long term would be about $23 million over the course of a 10-year period. That's to rent the facility, rehabilitate the facility, make it habitable without the generators and the portable ACs, and the cost of at least 4 full-time staff, training staff, and 2 ancillary logistics staff, and all the simunition rounds and stuff during that period. It's about $22 to $23 million, give or take some, is what we've estimated it would cost for us to run this over a 10-year period.
To put that in perspective, the state of Texas is looking at $1.2 billion right now to create a facility, build a facility north of Austin. This is available for us right now.
And for this region, like Brent, we were just talking about a little while ago, with your guys, it's close. They don't have to go to San Marcos, go to Austin, they just come right here for this. The Houston region would hugely benefit from this.
I just have to commend you guys for actually taking it on yourself, seeing the need, putting this together, and saying, I'm not going to wait until Austin builds this or gives me the funds, and I'm not going to wait until something's built in Dallas. You guys got this together, and it has definitely, you know, like you said, when somebody's been in this situation, it's the elasticity of the brain where, you know, they've been in that situation, they've been trained, and now they know what to do. Imagine how helpful that will be.
When Jason brought this to me, I said to him, and he talked about this facility, I basically said to him, you lost your mind. And when we actually put hard numbers to it and saw that it could be done, and then started implementing some things, sheriff's office began to take advantage of it. Perfect. And
They were actually already here.
Yeah.
This was the SWAT team somehow, and I don't know the backstory. The SWAT team for the sheriff's office had stumbled across this facility, and we're already using it. Completely dark and hot. I came here in July when it was 95 degrees in the building, and they were in full tactical gear, sweating and working. And Daniel said, hey, you need to come out here and take a look at this facility. I walked through it because it's so furnished and stuff. I said, it's amazing. And, you know, being logistics, the OEM's the problem solver. We're the logistics guys. And I said, hey, we can make it habitable with a little amount of money. It's not going to take that much to rent some things. And I did the cost, reached out to the landlord, found out how much he'd rent it to us for, and got it all worked out, went to court. And because of ARPA, we've been able to put this together due to the law enforcement and crime reduction portion of the ARPA funds. And so that's where we are. And it's, you know, long term, it's just not sustainable because ARPA's not going to be here forever for the county. So, and it's going to take a full-time contingent of folks to be on site every day to run the classes and to do the training. But we're excited. We've used the heck out of it. The fire departments, like I said earlier this morning, use it to do large building clearing. So they simulate a fire in the building, and the power's out. They'll use the dark corridors. They'll crawl around. They'll look for mannequins. EMS has used it for the same thing, clearing large-scale MCIs. Montgomery County drills a lot. Tomorrow morning, we're doing an explosion drill, a car explosion with injuries. It's first thing in the morning, 40-degree weather out on the lake, and we will be doing another drill in February. We drill a lot here. We have a very active drilling component, and this school helps us do that as well. So,
Okay, Representative Todd, tell me, this building here, tell me what you've thought about it, you've planned on it, thought something like this coming together. State needs something like this. What's it going to take to keep this going, and what do you think about this building?
There's a commitment by the state of Texas to create a training facility like this already in Austin. They're talking about building a facility north of Austin and spending $1.2 billion. They don't even have a plan for it yet. We have this facility right here in East County that serves one of the biggest metropolitan areas in the United States, and in close proximity to IAH Airport. It's imperative that we secure this facility, that the state secures it for the use of law enforcement across the state of Texas. We're going to need more and more. We're going to need 2 or 3 more of these across the state of Texas. This one's already booked pretty much full time. We're running out of ARPA funds at the county level. Now we need the state to step up and pick up the tab.
And you're looking at over $1 billion, you said, to build that one there, and they're looking at, what was it, he said, came up with a figure of like $23 million for 10 years to operate this one?
Right, and that's to lease it. I'd really like to see the state of Texas step up, purchase it, and put it underneath TDM or under the TEA.
How important is something like this?
We saw what happened at Uvalde. Why that happened at Uvalde, and a lot of people said that law enforcement there, that they were cowards. They weren't cowards. There's a neuroscience behind conditioning law enforcement to going into an active shooter situation. That requires training, lots and lots of training, so that this becomes a learned muscle response to go in with under a hail of gunfire and stop a shooter. The average person is not equipped to do that. You're not equipped to do that. You may think you are, but you're not. It takes training. It takes lots of training. That's why this facility is essential.
You're talking about architectural design. Some of these architects have designed with a lot of glass, a lot of open air. What needs to be done there?
So just some basic understanding of how to keep kids safe. Like in this room, as an example, an active shooter could look into it, and he has access to be able to see roughly 75% of the room just by looking through the glass. By installing some simple hip walls at the door, at either door, it would cut it down to him being able to, that shooter to being able to see maybe 10 or 15%, and that's it. And that's relatively inexpensive. We could do that in every school in Montgomery County. But it's crazy that we're still building schools in the state of Texas that don't take into consideration what's necessary to make our kids safer.
What about glass on the exterior walls? You're getting a lot of that too in these schools now.
You really are. And we know that down in Uvalde is an example that the shooter did shoot into the classrooms before, although no lives were lost as a result of it. But yeah, we need to take that into consideration as well.
Just want to add to that?
Appreciate you covering this. We got to let.
Okay, Jason, first spell name and title.
Jason Millsaps. I'm the Chief of Staff to County Judge Mark Keough. I'm also the Executive Director of the Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Management for Montgomery County.
And spell your last name.
Millsaps.
Tell me about this facility, what it took to get this going, and the cost on it, and what's needed to keep this thing going.
Well, this is was an old school that New Caney ISD had that they had moved to a new campus. They sold this school to a development company. Montgomery County has rented this facility from that development company for the last few months, and we have a few months left to go. We've turned it into an active shooter training facility and just an overall first responder training facility. We've had bomb squads here, we've had K9 units here, we've had fire and EMS units here training, as well as active shooter training. We've been doing this since October 1st, had a little over 400 officers go through this, some as far away as Germany, Minnesota, Tennessee. So the word is out. We're here, we're open. We just need somebody to reach out and say they need some people to come train. It costs their agency no dollars to come here and train at this facility. We've also hosted Train the Trainer a number of times, so those officers can now go back to their jurisdictions and train their fellow law enforcement officers on this program. It's a state-run program through the Texas State University. It's a group called Alert, and Montgomery County is blessed to have a number of alert-trained trainers, as well as civilian response trainers through the emergency management, our sheriff's office, and all our constables' offices. So we're utilizing that experience and getting our guys trained up to our special threat plan. So our boys and girls are ready to respond for anything.
Funding.
Right now, Commissioner's Court has blessed the funding for this rental in this facility. That funding will end in March. We're hoping today, we had legislators and representatives from Congress and the Senate here. We're hoping the state will help and assist the county with continuing this program by funding it. A 10-year cost over 10 years to run this facility is about $23 million. That's staffing, cost of the facility, upgrades, and anything that we use, consumables like our ammunition rounds. I believe the state has proposed doing something similar where they would build something like this for $1.2 billion. So our plan is more cost effective, and we're hoping to become a partner with the state through the Division of Emergency Management and others to run this facility full time for our regional law enforcement partners to train at.
Tell me about the scenario today.
Today we saw what's known as an RTF. It's an AIRS training course. We have law enforcement embedded with fire and EMS. We have an active shooter. The shooter is actively engaging victims, and the response from law enforcement is to neutralize that threat as quick as possible. That took place. They immediately began on-scene triage of the victims and then called in for the response team to come in behind them. It's a response tactical force team. They come in and assist in medical triage and getting the wounded out. And they do that all under security because it's a big building. You don't know if there's another threat here. And so we teach this, and we saw that scenario run today for our legislative partners so they can witness what was going on.
Yeah, they did. They got through 12, and I got short.